Bonsai. I'm the Cobra Kai kid, and today I'm joined by two very special guests. We have Ken Cole here, who you guys have seen on the channel. How are you doing, Ken?
Doing great, Drew. Super excited for our discussion today.
Yes, this is going to be very fun. We're also joined by Carl from Cobra Kai fandom. How you doing, Carl?
What's up, dudes and dudettes? It's a pleasure to be here with all of you, and definitely a pleasure to be with Drew and Ken talking about Cobra Kai, which we all love.
The fact that, and as everybody could tell from like the title, you got to be in Cobra Kai, the newest season, season 6, the final season. So we're obviously curious, like how that was for you, and we'll talk to you about that. Obviously, we're not gonna give any spoilers away. We don't want to know the spoilers. I know you can't even reveal it. We'll keep this like a spoiler-free discussion. But Ken, I'm sure you have questions. So I mean, where do you want to start with this? Like, do you have any questions?
Okay, so the first thing I have to ask, because I'm sure a lot of fans watching this right now are curious about that idea of being an extra or being participating in the show. So, when did you first get the idea to do this, and when did you decide I'm going to do this?
I'm sure we all have had our fantasies, right? Like, I'd love to be on the show. I'd love to, be a part of it. Social media, like, I started seeing right when it was probably the beginning of September. I know that the season came out the 9th. It was probably a couple days before that, out of nowhere. I've been on social media for God knows how long. Advertisements for extras. Do you want to, you ignore all that because unfortunately you don't know on social media what's legit and what's not. But I kind of just started saying, you know what, why not? I started looking at different links. Once season 5 was done, almost immediately, obviously before the unfortunate actor strike, there was advertisements for season 6. So it was before it was even officially announced, and I was like, well, it hasn't been announced yet. Let me just monitor this. Once the announcement became official, I said, okay, I'm going to do more research and I'm going to see what it takes. I've kind of always had the mindset, like whatever you want to do. I know Drew preaches this a lot. Achieve your dreams. Don't let nothing hold you back. So I started doing research, and slowly but surely, I found various websites that were advertising for Cobra Kai and other extras. I was fortunate enough to know a few people who have been extras in other shows and just asked them what to look for, what not to look for. So once they made the announcement that season 6 was a go and in the works, various different companies were advertising throughout social media. I started applying for, and then one particular company emailed me back and said they were interested in a casting call. I did about an hour Zoom. It was just kind of like, let's get to know you, what you're about, why
Wow.
you want to be on the show, X, Y, and Z. I was supposed to hear back in a week, and then 2 weeks later, unfortunately, the strike was rumored, and a couple of days later, it came into effect. So once the strike was lifted, immediately the same social media driven accounts and the agency I was affiliated with started advertising again. And through that, I found other links for other agencies, and I just kept applying. I said, you know what? The worst I can do is apply. It was around 10:30 at night. I received a phone call from an Atlanta, Georgia number, and I almost didn't answer because I'm sure many of us probably know, like, bot calls happen all the time. Hey, we're calling you about a student loan. I've never been to college in my life, so what student loan are you calling me about? So I almost didn't answer. And when I answered, they relayed to me that they were from the casting company I applied to. They asked me if I had any experience. I was honest with them, but told them no. And they were like, well, the pictures and the resume you sent, like you fit perfect for an extra. We want you to come out X, Y, and Z for this scene on this date.
I'm kind of curious about your experience. What was it like anticipating doing this, like flying down there, what you thought it was going to be like versus what it was like to be on the show?
Sure. So they called me about probably 10 or 11 days before the shooting was. And they said, basically, you won't hear back from us until the night before you're supposed to report. So I made the flight plans and all, accordingly to what I was told. And then 3 days before the shooting, which was 2 days before my flight, they called me back and said, plans changed. the shooting's going to be a day prior. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I rescheduled the flights. It ended up being more money, yada, 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 whatever. And thankfully, the night I got in, as I walked into the airport in Atlanta, I got the email, the follow up email saying, this is your confirmation. This is where you're going to report X, Y, and Z. So I felt a little bit better, stayed in my hotel, reported the next day. So I asked where I needed to go. I was pointing in the right direction. Once I walked around and where I needed to go, after about 5 minutes, it kind of felt like Hollywood. Like, hey, sign in. There's a buffet of food. So you had breakfast, lunch, dinner, sign in, pictures, wardrobe, all that as an introduction. So I was like, okay. Obviously, in the email you received the night before, they told you what they wanted you to bring. And if what you brought didn't match, they'll provide you their own clothes. We had a couple walkthroughs. We had about 15 walkthroughs on set. In between every scene, it was just amazing. Like, they were looking to talk to people, they were joking around, they were just like, hey, it wasn't just like, I don't know you. Like I said,
I'm curious because I'm sure like there must have been a roller coaster of emotions. And it's all happening so quickly. You get an email the night before, you're getting on a flight, you have to leave work and family, and you do this, and then you come home to your regular life, and it's like, oh my God, did I just do that? So, like, what was your mentality? Where was your mind throughout the entire process?
I'll tell you this, I'm not a fan of flying. I never have been, but Cobra Kai was going to be different. Every extra I spoke to said they were from the Atlanta surrounding area. When I told them I was from New Jersey, they kind of looked at me like, are you okay? And whatever, we can, I'm like, yeah, I'm okay, but I love the show. I love the movie, so it wasn't the money. I was never doing it for money, but I don't care if you see me for a split second. I'm going to say, I do feel like they can cut up the footage however they choose, but they did several different angles. Whether I'm face on from the side or the back of my head, I feel like I will be in that scene.
Ken, based off of everything Carl has been saying, about being an extra and his experience, I mean, Ken, you have experience as a filmmaker. How do you kind of relate to that from what you've done?
I think the biggest thing that jumps out to me is like, Carl, when you described what it was like when you went down to set, like it wasn't what you expected. It seemed kind of, a lot more down to earth. I think that's pretty common. It's like, whether you're on a sound stage or you're going out to location, it's like the magic of the final product, right?
It'd be cool for anybody to be on the show, but to have someone who's a fan of the show be on the show and have that dream come true, it's awesome, man. So like, I'm glad like you got that opportunity. Pretty freaking sick that you're going to be in that final season, that you're canon in the Cobra Kai Karate Kid universe. Like, congratulations for that. That's awesome.
Gosh, this has just been so amazing to have this window into what it's like to actually work on a show like Cobra Kai. And I don't know, I feel like this is just very special. This is amazing talking to you, Carl. And just thank you. Thank you for giving us all this wonderful information.
Yeah.
There's a lot more I could say, but I just, don't want to disrespect the creators of the franchise right now. So yeah, when the time comes, we will definitely talk more about the non-arguably the best show that was ever created.
Well, thank you, Ken. Thank you, Carl. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. We'll see you next time. And until then, Cobra Kai never dies.